Hello, you're watching Stretford Paddock. We are here for the live transfer news, updates, general, everything that's going on, really. It's the morning after the shite before, basically. United lost to Arsenal last night. I've been waiting to say that one all morning. As you know, United lost to Arsenal last night. And there have been sort of reports and stories and reactions all coming out to that. One of the big reactions that we've seen so far is on the transfer front. Our main story, our big story today is that, according to Laurie Whitwell of The Athletic, the noises coming out of Old Trafford and Manchester United are that January will be quiet. So whether that means zero signings, or does one signing count as quiet, or is it, I think a lot of people were hoping for multiple signings. The word was coming out of the club that United are interested in a striker and a couple of midfielders, but then quiet seems to suggest that we certainly won't be getting all three of those things, and maybe none, maybe one. Who knows what quiet means? But based on how United have been, certainly in January's in recent years, and just sort of generally in the transfer market, it doesn't fill me with too much confidence, especially after the performance we saw last night and just how thin United have been in different positions across the pitch. Let me know in the comments whether you think a quiet January would suffice for United, whether you think that we need signings. Are you happy with the news that it may well be a quiet January? There may be no signings at all in January. Is that going to be good for United? Again, it's a strange one, because over the last sort of week or two, like I said, we've seen multiple people coming out, different sources. Again, looking on Reddit, you see the tiered sources of people who are reliable, people who are clearly getting briefed by the club. That seems to be the way a lot of this works. And those people have been saying that United are confident of maybe getting a striker and maybe getting a couple of midfielders. I think certainly a couple of central midfielders and a striker are on the list for January. It seemed as though maybe Haaland was that striker that we thought we were going to be able to get in January, or we thought we had a chance of getting. We were clearly in for Haaland as the stories came out after after his move to Dortmund was confirmed, that United didn't want to pay extra money for agents' fees and sell-on clauses and all that sort of thing. So maybe that's our hopes of signing a striker have been dashed. It depends. Again, we keep coming back to this line that again comes out of the club of, we don't want to sign players for the sake of it. So that suggests to me we've got a limited pool of players we want to buy. If they aren't available, we'll buy no one. And obviously one of the options as for striker that we were interested in is now no longer available. So have we gone from one option to zero options and we won't sign anyone, or was he on a list of anywhere between 2 and 802, being the number of right backs we scouted before signing Wan-Bissaka? So maybe Haaland was on a long list of potential signings in that position, or maybe as we're hearing now, he was the only option, and we won't be getting him, so we won't be getting anyone. Again, we're talking about midfield as well before. This is coming out of ESPN this morning, that United eye Jack Grealish, Emre Can, Sean Longstaff and Declan Rice to ease injury crisis. So they seem to be, that is just sort of relatively breaking news in the last hour or so from ESPN. So these are a few names we've seen before. We've seen Grealish linked in recent days and weeks. Emre Can's been one that's been talked about for probably a month or so now. He's not really in favour at Juventus. Again, obviously a former Liverpool player. Sean Longstaff we've been talking about signing him since the summer. Newcastle reportedly wanting somewhere around 50 million for him. I wouldn't say he's necessarily pushed on this season in the way that people would have hoped he would. Not that he's been bad necessarily, but you've not seen too much of him, not seen too much of a progression from him. And Declan Rice, of course, another one of our it seemed like we were interested in the summer, and it looks as though we may be after him again now. It's almost a sort of a series of contradicting reports. Like, we're putting out the idea that we are after people, we do want two midfielders and a striker, but, we might not sign anyone, so don't get your hopes up. It's almost like United are kind of covering their backs a little bit in terms of the kind of public opinion on what's going to be happening over January. Mark Atherton says, Longstaff is a poor man's McTominay, he's crap. Yeah, but we don't have McTominay for a couple of months, so obviously I know we don't want to waste money on players that aren't good enough for the team, but after yesterday, we're hearing the news, which we'll come on to in a minute, that Paul Pogba is going to be out for another extended period of time, and also Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming out after the game, the 2-0 defeat to Arsenal last night, saying that Scott McTominay will be out for a few months, whatever that means. So I would say at least 2 months, maybe 4, 5, 6 months. Who knows what a few means? I think that's a bit of an open-ended sort of time frame, starting at around 2 months. So we're going to have a long time without him. Maybe we might not see him to the end of the season. A few months, 5 months. That's a few months. So we're really struggling in that central midfield department. We saw Matic yesterday, who, you know, against Burnley didn't look too bad when we had a lot of the ball and could hold possession. But against Arsenal yesterday, there was gaps all over that midfield. And if we get another injury to midfield, it's down to Garner, which, not that he's a bad player, but he's so inexperienced. It seems almost remarkable that we could be down that thin in the centre of the park. Again, right, moving on to another midfielder then, Paul Pogba. We can't get around it. We have to talk about it. There's always new stuff coming out every week, every day. Every news story that comes out is about Paul Pogba. This is talking about the sort of contrasting and contradicting reports almost coming both from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer about whether he needs surgery, whether or not it's the United's decision or whether it's Pogba's decision and his people. I think the problem with saying his people is we all know that Paul Pogba is linked with Mino Raiola. That's his agent. So I think people assume that anytime any decision is made for Pogba, it's made by his agent. But, you know, I'll read you the quote and we'll go from there. This is from Simon Stone on Twitter. He said, United did the scans because that was something that was... it was suggested almost by Solskjaer, maybe just a slight miswording, that Pogba and his people, which, again, we don't know who that is, whether that's a fitness team, whether that's an agent and management team, had sort of conducted their own scans and come up with their own conclusions, and they were telling United what Pogba was doing. But it does seem as though United did the scans, the club, the player, and again his people agree that there is surgery needed. So Solskjaer then coming out and saying that United agree there is surgery needed as well. The timing is the obvious issue. Player is within his rights to go and not risk making it worse. The club position on January remains unchanged, looking to strengthen midfield and other areas, but a tricky market. So again, reiterating that point, seemingly coming from the club, that United are considering January a difficult time to buy people. But back to Pogba, it's just a strange one. It's just another one on the list of, I think, unnecessary controversy with Pogba. If a player's injured, usually when a player's injured, they go out of the limelight a little bit. They sort of go back into the back rooms and work hard and train and get back. And usually when someone gets a recurring injury like Pogba seems to have with this ankle, the general mood is, well, we feel sorry for him. We don't, it's sad for a player and upsetting for a player on a personal level that he keeps getting injured. He's got this bad injury. But somehow Paul Pogba, despite being, I would say inarguably United's best player, has cultivated this kind of opinion that he wants to leave. He's faking an injury. His management team are toxic. He does too much on social media. There are a lot of controversies surrounding Pogba, and it's not just people not liking that he dances at his brother's wedding. He doesn't seem to come out and support the club as often as he could. He doesn't say the right things in public. He's got his brother and his family and his agent all coming out and saying that he wants to leave, and then on top of that, he never seems to play for United, and it's been a long sort of list of will he, won't he, is he injured, is he not injured, is he leaving, is he staying, and it seems as though that's going to be going on for at the minimum until January, if he leaves in January, and at most probably in the summer, which it seems like he will leave in the summer, but we've got another sort of extension to this injury problem. Pro Instinct says Ollie won't get funds because the board don't believe in him and have Poch on standby. I don't know what evidence you have of that, but Mourinho didn't get funds either after finishing second in the league. So I think it may be more a symptom of the board themselves than the actual manager, because other than winning the Europa League one season, finishing second the next season, and still getting no money to spend, or just what was it, Fred and Lee Grant that Mourinho was allowed to sign his last season. I can't imagine that the board were completely against him when he just finished second. So it seems as though it's a board problem rather than a Solskjaer problem. Juho's 1999 says, settles a late show, Joe. There's a late show coming tonight, so look out for that 11 o'clock tonight with the second episode of the Late Show Live. Thank you for asking about that. When you hear the words, we are only going to sign the right players, that's not good because it's an excuse that states the obvious. Yeah, exactly. Why would we sign the wrong players? That's a great point, actually. when a club comes out and says, we're only going to sign the players if they're right, well, obviously, you don't just sign any player. So, there's a suggestion there that we aren't capable of signing the players we want, rather than, well, they're not available. Everyone only wants to sign good players. You never hear a manager coming out saying, oh, we just announced the signing of Fred, who plays for Timperley, he's a Sunday League player. He's absolutely shit, but he was all we could get. Like, the assumption is, if you sign them, you think they're good enough. So, yeah, it's almost a sort of a built-in excuse that states the obvious, as you said there. That's a good point there. Floating Man says, it's a board problem rather than a manager, for fuck's sake. Yeah, I think it is a board problem. Not, obviously, we saw the transfer window in the summer, which was relatively successful. All three of those players, James, Wan-Bissaka and Maguire, have been good signings, starting regularly, putting in good performances. So, if you were to look at the positive side of things, which we do like to do here, you could say that the track record under this, what seems like a new system, and Solskjaer's new system, has been good. We kind of have to trust that, they are going to do the right thing, and if the right player does become available, they will get him. They spent a world record fee on a defender to get Harry Maguire because he was the man they decided they wanted. They spent 50 million quid on a 21-year-old right-back who'd played one season in Wan-Bissaka because that's who United had decided they wanted, and it seems to have paid off. So, maybe you can give them some credit and hope and hold some kind of optimism going forward. And then finally, our last story today, speaking of transfers, this is Christian Eriksen, who's clearly fallen out of favour at Tottenham, who seems to not want to play for Tottenham anymore. His contract is up at the end of the summer, end of the season, and United have been linked with him. This is in a lot of outlets again coming today, that we are monitoring the situation, that United are willing to wait till summer to get him on a free, which to me seems like they don't really want him, to be honest, because if your number one target is available now for 20 million, which, let's face it, in this day and age is basically free, or in the summer for free, if he was your number one target, you go, well, pay 20 million then. That's a brilliant fee for any player that can improve our squad. So if we're willing to just, if it's free, I'll have it. It's like when someone offers to buy you a drink, and it's like, oh, do you want a drink? Well, is it free? Yeah, it's free. Oh, I'll have one then. I'll drink piss if it's free. That's like basically what we're saying about Eriksen there. Apologies. It's just like, I feel like we can't be that interested in Eriksen if we only want him for free. We're not willing to spend 20 million on him. Again, reports coming out this morning from Sky Sports News that Inter Milan are going in for Eriksen, which to me just seems like the perfect, most obvious, like easy signing ever. They keep sweeping up these sort of out of favour Premier League stars. We've seen it with Sanchez, we've seen it with Lukaku. And it looks as though we might be seeing it with Eriksen. I think it's clearly a position United want a player in, and I think that's why we are continuing to link with him. It seems to me like he's maybe 4th, 5th, 6th on that list of potential attacking midfielders. The fact that we're not willing to pay 20 million for him suggests to me that we aren't that interested. Gareth in the comments, hello Gareth, saying Eriksen like a Matic style signing, decent but declining, could be a waste of money. Yeah, there's potential for that. It's just strange that Eriksen seems like he's declining because he's only 27, but he has definitely had a full year now of not being the player that he had been, and he's been playing for Ajax since about 17 and playing for Tottenham since he was 21, 22 in quite high intensity systems. Maybe we're sort of seeing an early burnout, an early decline like we started to see with Wayne Rooney. But even then, that was when it started when Rooney was sort of 29, 30 rather than 27, 28. So you'd hope that there would still be a chance for Eriksen to bring that back. But yeah, that's going to basically do it for now. Again, the story's coming out this morning that United are expecting a quiet January, or that the noises coming from United is that January may well be quiet. Obviously not something that we want to hear, especially after seeing the deficiencies and the problems at United in the 2-0 defeat to Arsenal last night. Again, Paul Pogba, we're not sure how long he's going to be out for. We're not sure who's making the decisions on whether he's having surgery or not. I can see in the background right now, Mina Raiola is on the phone to Sky Sports, so I'm sure there'll be quotes coming out on Stretford Paddock social media about that. And again, Christian Eriksen, we'll have him if he's free, but otherwise we can't be asked. Right, thank you very much for joining me. Like I said, we'll have a podcast coming out in a little bit, and we will have the second episode of Late Night Live coming live tonight at 11 p.m. Be sure to join me for that. It should be a bit of fun. And we'll see you next time.